We would like to thank CarryFit for sponsoring our first season of the Babywearing podcast. CarryFit is not just a carrier, but a whole parenting support package. Get the carrier designed to help you and your baby bond and move together your way. Also, get access to the CarryFit app, which includes postnatal support and baby wearing, core and pelvic floor, sleep, fitness, and so much more. Check out CarryFit and all they offer at www.getcarryfit.com. You can also use our code coorie'd for a discount when you buy.
Hello and welcome to Coorie'd and Carry On. I'm Gemma,
And I'm Laurna.
and today we're going to talk to you about all things carrying, but mostly about carrying in cold weather. Before we get started, big thank you to CarryFit, who are our sponsors for this episode. And if you want to grab one for yourself, you can get 10% off with our discount code CoorieCarry, and all the information is in the show notes. So, cold weather carrying. Lorna, it's getting cold.
It is chilly. I'm actually sat here with a blanket on. I'm actually so chilly.
It's
But
it's getting Baltic, it is. I'm
I
not into
know,
it.
no, I want summer to come back. This is too cold already.
Aye.
So obviously, when it gets chilly, it's the same. As soon as it starts getting warm, everyone's like, "How do I dress my baby?" And then as soon as it gets cold again, "How do I dress my baby?" So we are going to talk about all things carrying the cold, how to keep you warm, how to not overheat baby, and things you should do, things you shouldn't do, and how to dress and layer up and everything. So we will be sharing on our socials some graphics for you to follow as well that are helpful for we checklist of how to stay safe carrying it in the cold. So let's talk about like why do people carry in the cold? Why when it gets colder, why don't you just use a pram?
So you can. I mean,
Hmm.
I've used prams. I actually think prams are harder to use in the cold, especially if you end up in because it's not just cold, it's the bad weather in general.
Hmm.
So for anybody who's not in Glasgow, it's dreich. It's always dreich. It's just wet and windy. You don't even get good snow. Like so,
Yeah, it's just
to use a
slush.
pram, yeah, to use a pram, like you've got to use covers and you've got to like, is it? There's a lot of, and plus the roads in Glasgow aren't great, so like there's a lot of curbs that don't work properly and a lot of potholes
Hmm.
and that. So using a pram is not ideal for me personally. So I would rather carry because it means then I just need to keep my feet dry and keep me and my baby dry rather than
Hmm.
have to worry about keeping the whole pram upright and in an order.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, you use what you need to use, but why
Mhm.
carry? Why always carry? Because it's good
Yeah.
fun. It's cozier as
You
well.
get snuggles. It is. And
Yeah.
yeah, it is because if you are carrying in the cold, you're walking around with a wee personal hot water bottle on you. I mean,
They
what's
are
better
very
than that?
toasty.
Exactly. And they have the cutest wee faces as well. So that is just a perk. But yeah, benefits of using a carrier in the cold rather than using a pram is that if you get out the car and you're going somewhere and or out the house and it's raining and blowing a hoolie, then you've got to maybe set up the wheels outside, then set up the pram outside, then put the baby in, then put the cover on. If you're using a carrier, you can get baby in the carrier, get your jacket, your cover, whatever you want to on, step outside and away you go. There's no
Right.
faff, there's no extra added things. And then it's the also coming back. So if you're going back in the house, back in the car, you have to take off the rain cover, take out the baby, come back for the buggy, come back for the wheels, and break it all down unless you can get it all in a oneer. So there's definitely benefits of carrying the cold. And also, if you're carrying all year round, then, and that's what you usually do, and that's your mode of transport, then that's why you're going to carry in the cold as well. So it is, there's so many benefits, practical benefits, as well as
Yeah.
obviously all the added benefits of carrying. But yeah, it's just so much easier and quicker. And then all you have to do is put your wellies or your boots on and you're good to go.
I would say as well that like I think a lot of people might think that it's easier to use a pram because well you can just put your baby in like a big snowsuit and stuff, but
Mm.
it's much I found it easier to monitor my kids' temperature and stuff when they were on me, and to
Hmm.
make sure that they were warm enough and things because I could. just well, most of my kids, well, most of my kids, I've got two kids, but my kids were
Most of them.
mostly on my back. Most of them, 50% of them. So they were on my back most of the time. So I could, if I wanted to check if their feet were warm, they were at my hands. You know, if I
Hmm.
wanted to check if their hands were cozy, they were on my neck. Do you know,
Hmm.
it was very immediate feedback. I didn't need to go rummaging in to dig them out of a pram.
Hmm.
That said, I've used a pram when it's cold. Handy for carrying other stuff as well, shoving it in the bottom of the pram.
Hmm.
But like I say, prams in Glasgow, it's just tricky.
Yeah, and up here as well, it's terrible. The roads can be bad, and you've got like wee back roads that don't have a pavement and stuff. So it's a lot safer most of the time. It's a lot safer, and as well, like if you are walking by a road and it is slushy or rainy, then there's more chance of a buggy getting hit by a puddle or a slush or stuff like that. Or if it's windy, like we've had some hellish gales up here,
Aye.
and trying to like even the car was like rocking. I was like, I would not like to be pushing a buggy in that. If it was that wild, I probably wouldn't go out at all. But like if you were carrying, it's gonna be a lot easier to stay upright than kind of holding
Yeah,
on to
you
a
don't want
buggy.
your buggy turning into a kite. Like
No,
it's
like come back.
come back, my
Attach a
baby.
strap onto. Can I hold you?
But then as well, up in the Highlands, you get a lot more snow than we do. Um,
Nah, no, not here. If you go south, you get more snow, but not where I am. You get slush, or like
well, I
one day of
suppose
snow and then
you're closer
slush.
to the water.
Yeah.
But then,
I'm downhill.
uh, that's it. You're not high in the Highlands.
Yeah,
You're just far
I'm
up.
in the lowlands.
Um, but I mean, if you are in snow, I mean, pushing a buggy in snow is an absolute pain. So,
Yeah.
I mean, with, carrying, you're limited to where can your feet go rather than
Hmm.
where can I push. But again, I do find a lot of people get really worried about carrying in the cold weather because we make a big deal about baby's temperature, as we should, because kids,
Hmm.
very young babies, can't control their temperature. So it's something that a lot of parents get worried about. And especially in the cold weather, how do you make sure that their temperature is suitable and that they're not actually sweltering little bundles plastered to your chest?
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, it's a question a lot of parents ask.
Definitely. And it's as well, if you're carrying, it's so easy just to pop your hand down the back of their neck, check their temperature, check their chest. And also, you'll know if you're sweating buckets, all your
Mm.
heat is going into baby, so they're probably getting too hot as well. And they can't regulate their temperature as easy as us. So it's definitely time for a break or time to take out or take a layer off as well. But just it's as well when you're carrying it's so much easier because you're seeing baby at all times. Remember, making sure baby's airway and face is completely clear. Then you can just glance down and look at them and check as well. And if they've been sleeping for a wee while, just check their temperature or have a wee break. It's easy to kind of break it up and do so.
Yeah.
Um, no, on you go.
No, I was going to say, I don't think I ever told you. I took my daughter down to nursery one day and it was -10. It was really blooming cold here.
Mm.
Um, and so I had her on my back. I was using a woven wrap because I was feeling fancy that day. And I have a quad blend from Joy and Joe that is beautiful. It's the Purple Rain, not Purple Rain.
Yeah, beast. Yes, I know what one you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that is purple. Yeah. It's not
yeah.
Purple Rain though, because I wanted Purple
No,
Rain and
purple rains.
forget it.
I had purple rain.
Yeah. It's gorgeous. Yeah. Uh, um,
Anyway,
electric something.
yes,
Electric. Yes. Anyway,
we'll come back to that.
yeah, I'll remember it at some point. But so it's a quad blend. It's got wool in it. It's really, really cozy. And I had her in a three-layer carry.
Mm.
She had her shoes on, but she didn't have a jacket on because I had her in a three-layer carry with a wool wrap. She had a t-shirt, a jumper, a three-layer wool carry. I think she maybe even had a vest on as well. She had leggings and tights, and socks and shoes. And then I had my winter jacket over the top of the two of us.
Mm.
And the nursery had questioned me because she didn't have a jacket on. Now, the nursery are doing their job, so I'm not
Yep.
angry at the nursery, but I did have to explain to them that, the jacket would have actually overheated her if she'd been in a
Hmm.
wee fluffy jacket as well, because there was just far too many layers on her. Well, not far too many, there was an appropriate number, it was -10.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I had to explain to them that, she had 3 layers of wool on her, plus 2 to 3 layers of a top, plus my body heat, plus my jacket.
Hmm.
Like, she is actually very, very toasty. Like, she is
Yeah,
cozy, cozy.
exactly. And especially if
Um,
you're walking with a toddler on your
yeah,
back, you're getting hot and sweaty as well. Definitely.
yeah,
You are getting hot. Um, but yeah, that's the thing as well. Like dependent, let's talk about carrier options for carrying in the cold. Because obviously in the summer we talked about everyone wants a summer carrier, a light one, a breathable one, a mesh one. Do you need a big, thick, padded, woolly wrap or carrier in the winter? No, you don't
no,
need, as well as summer, you don't need a summer specific one. If you want to get one, that's absolutely fine. You don't need a winter specific carrier. You use whatever carrier you use the rest of the year, and then you layer up according to the weather and your activity. And that's, I think, what people forget is there's a difference in if you just layer up, if you say, right, okay, we need this amount of layers on a child, but you're doing something like you're walking up a hill or you're doing like a big steep walk, then you're heating up more than you would be just like walking around the shops for the day.
Mhm.
So you have to think about the activity that you're doing as well, because that's going to create more or less heat depending on what you're doing and the size and of the child as well. But
Yeah.
if you are, for example, if you're using a buckle carrier, then you will maybe need more layers than if you're using a woven wrap and you are spreading the passes.
Hmm.
So when we talk about layers, a layer of or one layer of a carrier is counts as one layer of clothing. When you're using a woven wrap, that can be one, two, or three layers depending on how many passes you spread. So it will differ depending on what you're using as well, which again, I think it puts everyone like, oh my God, it's so confusing. It's just, but if you're using that one thing, that's all you have to think about rather than you don't have to think about all the other carriers and stuff. You just think about what one you're using and do it appropriately.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Is like I say, I used a wool carrier because I'm a carrying consultant. I have lots of carriers. I happen to have one with wool in it, so I chose one with wool
Yep.
in that day, because
Hmm.
it was -10. Doesn't mean that I would have went out of my way to purchase one for that
Hmm.
particular, because it's so rare we get that kind of cold snap here.
Yep.
Um, we tend to have a fairly temperate climate that's just miserable all year round.
Apart from
But
that 1 week of summer.
yeah, that 1 week of summer's cracking, but the rest of the time kind of dree. Uh, but it's if you just have one carrier, like you can make your life work with one carrier.
Hmm.
It's a layer of heat, you're a layer of heat. So your baby's always starting with 2 layers of heat if they're carried.
Hmm.
If you're using a woven wrap, then every time it passes their back and spreads across, you're going to add one. Um, every layer of clothing you put on them, you add one. So when you're looking at how cozy are they, because each layer of fabric traps a layer of air, which is what makes it warm. So each time we're trapping a layer of air, we're making ourselves cozier and cozier.
Hmm.
And it's why every time we talk about baby wear and we tell you to layer the baby. Even in the summer, we tell you to take layers off. In the winter, we tell you to
Hmm.
put layers on. And it's because if your baby starts getting too hot or too cold, you can add or remove something. And it's
Hmm.
why the sort of number one rule for carrying in the cold, do not use a snowsuit.
Yep.
Um, for multiple reasons, but the main one is that if they start overheating, if you take that snowsuit off, generally they're not in much underneath it.
Hmm.
Um, the snowsuits they reflect the heat in, which is great if you are carrying, if you're just in a pram and you need to keep them super duper cozy. If you're carrying them though, that heat can reflect in and it's like being trapped in a sleeping bag and you can't unzip it. It's too hot.
Hmm.
So what we want to do is make sure that there's lots of airflow able to get to the baby if we want it, and you can't get that in a snowsuit. So there is one exception to when you can use a snowsuit when carrying.
Yep. Just the
And that's
one.
that's the one exception, and that's in framed carriers, but we'll talk about them in a bit.
Yep.
Um, but for carrying, generally layer up, and for yourself, layer up as well, because there is nothing worse than being freezy cold. And I'm really
Hmm.
bad for forgetting to layer my legs. Like on my top, I'll put on like multiple layers and I'll get all toasty up top and then I go outside and I've just got jeans on and I'm like, oh,
Oh
oh,
no, no, no. It's autumn now, so I'm like almost at the layer in my legs. So I
yeah,
always wear leggings and I've always got like a thermal leggings on underneath. So it's
nice.
double. So like yeah, leggings are for all year. You just thermal la thermal layer underneath and when it's hot and then shorts in the summer.
Yeah.
That's my three options.
I've got a
Shorts,
friend who has
leggings,
long
or
johns.
thermals.
I've got
Yeah,
a friend
I've
who
got
was,
long johns. They're
yeah.
so good. They're
She's just like, they're
brilliant.
so amazing. She's like, I've got a flap so I can pee and everything.
I want that. But that's the thing as well. Like, we have to remember when we're talking about carrying and layering, we're always focusing on your torso, and baby is on the full of your torso, but we forget about legs and feet. So, remember to make sure that your legs are warm, either thermal leggings underneath or thicker trousers or whatever you're wearing, and then extra socks or thick socks, and
Yeah.
focusing on footwear as well. So, when we're talking about, like, obviously at the minute it's autumn, so it's a bit wet and windy. Um, might be dry where you are if you're lucky, but it's still a bit chilly. So you can wear whatever you want and just maybe put on an extra pair of socks. But when it's wet and snowy and slushy, then you need to think about footwear for when it's slippy as well.
Yeah.
So making sure you've got wellies or boots or something with good grip. Um, and what I like to do is I've got my winter boots, but I also have grips. So you can get these like wee elastic, I can't remember what they're called, grip on.
Crampons.
No, not
Crampons.
crampons. Crampons is for like mountain climbing. That's a bit too
Yeah.
extreme. But they're like
But
that. They kind of slip. They're like elastic over your foot and they've got
I think,
like studs
yeah,
at
I've
the
got
bottom.
ones, I think the brand I've got is called Yak Tracks or something.
Yeah, yeah, aye,
Yeah.
there's something like that. But I use them in the winter for going walking, and they're brilliant because then you know that you're not going to slip, or you're a lot less likely to slip because
Yeah.
you've got a bit of grip on your shoes, especially if it's icy. And remember,
But putting super
risk
tires
assess
on,
for
yeah.
yourself. Yeah, but risk
Yeah.
assess for yourself. If you are worried about falling or slipping, or it is too icy, then don't carry. That's always an option as well. Um, or
You can use
do
a
something
pram, yeah.
else. Yeah, exactly. Or use what I usually say to people is if you've got your crampon things on your feet and you've got baby, use walking poles. There's nothing wrong with using walking poles when it's icy because then you've got extra balance and you've got more stability. If you slip and you've got a pram, then what's going to happen is the pram going to go away? Are you going to fall? Is the going to tip? So yeah, just kind of risk assess for yourself and think about where you're going. The route that you're taking, is that accessible? Are you able to go onto grass or whatever just to make sure it's a bit not slippy? Or are you able to have it gritted or
Yeah.
like in your local pathway or something, is it able to be gritted and stuff like that? So risk assess for yourself when you're going out and just don't go out if there's no immediate reason. Obviously, if you're doing like nursery run or school run or something
Yeah.
like that, these are things that you need to do. Um, but if you're just going out for a wee walk for some fresh air, sit at the back door and open the window instead. I think
Mm.
sometimes if you want some fresh air, or sit in the garden, or sit just at the front step. Um, yeah, just don't go out if you don't need to go out sometimes when it gets really, really cold.
Quite
And
honestly,
yeah,
I live my life
chilly.
by that. Just stay in.
Yeah. Just open a window. That's all you need to do.
Don't go anywhere. Um, but yeah, I think when you're looking at moving about outside, absolutely everything you've just said. But risk assessing is something that we should be doing every time we're carrying because
Hmm.
we always want to make sure that we're doing everything safely. Um, so a sort of cheat sheet for going outside would be, first of all, get yourself dressed. Then when you're getting your baby dressed, think how many layers does my baby need? Like how cold is it? Um, and then remembering that you are a layer, the carrier is a layer, and then if you're using any kind of carrier cover. So one of the things that is really good for using in the winter are baby wearing jackets, baby wearing covers.
Hmm.
There is also a budget hack where you can use your baby's jacket as a carrying cover. So
Hmm.
we can look at these things because again, like I say, Glasgow's a fairly temperate climate. It's dry. And if you don't know the word dreich, it just means it's miserable, it's dour, it's
The bleh.
wet, and ugh, ugh is the only one. Yeah. So
Yep.
it's usually wet here as well as cold. So using some kind of cover is kind of necessary here.
Hmm.
Um, so when you're risk assessing, you're also going to be looking at, well, is the weather supposed to stay dry? Is it going to be wet? You know, do I need a cover? And if I need a cover, how many layers does that put on my baby? It makes it sound really complicated, but realistically, it's no
Mm.
more complicated than any other day you get your baby dressed. You're just sitting going, do I need a jacket or not?
Yeah.
You know,
Just
do I
check
need
the
to
weather
maybe,
app as well.
aye,
Just
I
check
maybe
the
need to
Met
shove a jumper
Office
on?
and see, okay, it's pretty cold. It's usually colder in the mornings and then it can turn out to be a lovely day. Like, so if you're layering up and you're going to be out all day, like you're going to have to take layers off at some point, probably, because it is going to get maybe a bit warmer. And just remember what activity you're doing. There's lots of different graphics of carrying the cold over the years. And there's one that's got how to layer up for certain temperatures. And I like it, but also it doesn't that's not like set in stone because it
Yeah,
could be a temperature and you're just going around the shops, you're in and out the shops. So you need to take things on and off. Or
yeah,
if it's that temperature and you're out doing like a steady walk or like a
yeah,
slightly uphill walk or something, then that's not going to be applicable because you're going to get warmer quicker.
yeah.
So
Well, if you're
it
walking the
can be
dog
as a
for an hour, it's
guide.
different to being in the shop
Exactly.
for an hour. Yeah,
Definitely. And also, I see a lot of people do this. They've got their baby layered up and they're in and out shops and they maybe unzip their jacket or take their hat off and they're in the shop, but they don't do it for baby. So
yeah,
if you're going in a shop and you're going to be in there for a wee while, please take baby's hat off because they're going to get really, really warm because they're
mhm,
then inside and you're walking around in a warmer place with in warm shops and stuff. So remember, if you're going just in and out shops, you need to take off a layer, put off a layer, put on a layer when you go back outside because you are changing that temperature. So you need to layer up
mhm,
or layer down according to that temperature. You can't just keep them layered up in and out the whole time. So that's why layers on top of things are always beneficial. So we talked about covers there. You can get different versions of covers. You can get super thin, just rain covers, which is handy if it's wet. The ones from Bundle Bean are pretty good. And then
yeah,
you've got thicker ones like Annie's Accessories, the Hug Me, and she
mhm.
does all custom ones. So you can choose your fleece color, your patterns, your pockets and hoods and everything. And
She
they're
does
ideal.
ones for she does ones for forward-facing carriers as well, doesn't she? And
Yes. So
yeah,
I think the hood is on
can
like
flip
clips or
around. Yeah,
something. It goes the other way so that you can.
yeah,
But I think that's what we should talk about, mention forward facing in the cold as well,
yeah,
because if it's blown a hoolie, if it's windy, if it's wet and it's cold, it's best to turn baby to face you because they're
yeah,
just getting all of that straight in their face. And if
yeah.
you're feeling it cold, then it's not fair putting them on that.
Yeah. I mean, that's it is if they're on your back, they can hide. They can bury their wee
Hmm.
face into the back of your neck. Like they have some autonomy. On the
Yep.
front, they are exposed.
Hmm.
Um, so absolutely my thinking would be it'd be more comfortable for them to be facing in towards you or on your back.
Hmm.
Um, or on your hip. Again, using a jacket with the hip carry can be really tricky. You have to sort of keep it unzipped. So I
Hmm.
would say maybe avoid. And everybody knows I'm a hip girl,
But
but maybe
also,
not in the
yeah,
winter.
Annie's Accessories makes a hip carry cover because
Okay.
obviously all of the covers clip attach onto each shoulder pass of a wrap or a carrier. But when you're hip carrying, obviously that's not going to fit the same. So she does, I helped her design one. It's called the Coorie cover and it's for hip carrying. So it will attach onto, you'll have to tell her what hip you carry on so that the straps are in the right way. But she does make a specific one for hip carrying. So if you use a ring
Amazing.
sling or a hip C or anything like that that's going to be on the hip, then you can just have your jacket over the top and the carrier on as well, which is really handy. And as well, then baby can kind of nuzzle into you and hide their face if it is windy or cold. But yeah, please, if it is windy or raining, turn baby to face you. It's going to be kinder in their wee face. And also, you know what it's like when the wind hits you and you catches your
Oof.
breath. It's hard enough as an adult. You don't want that to happen to a wee baby as well. or a wee
Yes.
one, not a baby. Babies shouldn't be
Also, it
fur
dries your
facing.
skin out. It dries your skin
Yeah.
out a lot to be in that kind of weather, and we know how delicate babies are.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so I think with carrying, I did mention there is a budget super hack that we like to show as well. So if you're using a buckle carrier, if you've got, usually we use this for toddlers because the toddler jackets are big enough, but
Hmm.
you can thread the arm straps of your cat. It doesn't work for carriers like Tula that have set H strap backs, but if you've got a back, if you've got
You
straps
can
that can
still loop
cross,
it through. You can loop it through the straps
and
and
it's a bit
tie it
trickier,
round.
but
Yeah.
yeah. It's a bit trickier, but the what we typically recommend is that you unbuckle your straps, you pass a strap through each arm so that the jacket arms are going over your shoulders with the carrier straps, and then the back of the jacket is hanging down your baby's back. And so you can put that on the carrier, get your baby in, plug yourself all into the carrier, get yourself all situated. And then you can put your jacket over the top and just zip it up enough so that it comes up to meet the bottom of your baby's jacket. And then that way you and your baby are sort of waterproof. So you can do it that way.
Mhm.
The other option, of course, is to go all out and buy a baby wearing jacket. Um, these are expensive. I think mine was one of the cheaper ones. I got one from Lenny Lamb,
Mhm.
which is decent. It's all right. It's very much a rain jacket though, rather than a cold weather jacket.
Yeah.
Um, the Mamalilas, I think, are about 200 each, about that.
Yeah, about
Yeah.
that. It depends on what ones you've got, like the normal lightweight rain one, and then you've got the soft shell, and then you have like the winter one as well.
Yeah.
So you've got different levels. But
Yeah.
the thing with I've got Mama Lila, and the thing I loved is it is an expense, but it's not just for the time you're carrying, because
No.
when you're no longer carrying, take out the insert and you've got yourself a lovely jacket. And if you enjoy that jacket when you're baby wearing, you're going to enjoy it as a jacket just by itself as well. So it's not like you're spending a few £100s on a jacket that's only going to
Yeah.
last you for a couple of years when you're carrying. It's going to last you for however long it fits you,
What I
which
would
is
say about
ideal.
baby wearing jackets, and
Yeah.
what annoys me because I'm Scottish, is I
The
don't know if
hood's not
anyone
big
else.
enough.
What annoys me, right? I'm on my high horse. I like the view from up here,
There she
but
goes.
but there is a phrase, I don't know if they use it in the rest of the world, but my mum always says to me, "Do you think I'll button up the back?" Right? So, and the problem with baby wearing jackets is, yes, you do. You zip up the
They
back.
zip up the back.
Uh, so, it's, if my mum goes, "I think you button up the back," I'm like, "Well, yeah, today I do. Leave me alone."
But even not just once, but twice, because there are two zips in
Yes.
this.
That's it. So, if you've never seen a baby wearing jacket, it's like the pregnancy ones. You've got a panel in the front. Generally, you get three panels with a baby wearing jacket. You get a pregnancy panel, you get a front
Mhm.
panel, and you get a back panel. Aside from that, it's a normal jacket. It's got a zip up the front. It does have a zip up the back and a wee flap to keep you nice and dry when there's no panel in. But
Mhm.
other than that, you use a panel to pregnancy. It makes the jacket bigger. The front panel has a hole for your baby's head to come out of and a wee hood, and the back panel is generally fairly open to let your baby get their arms in and out and to let a bigger child sit in your back. But basically, it just makes the jacket a bit bigger and roomier. And then
Mhm.
that means you don't have to do what I did with my first child, which is buy a massive men's skiing jacket so that it can hang off you wherever your kid is.
But that's
So
also a great
it's an
hack. Well,
option.
not hack, but like an option as well. Like if you've got a partner that wears a bigger size jacket than you, borrow one of their
Wear
jackets and pop it around as long as you're fit. Obviously, when we're talking about borrowing a bigger jacket, this is when you're front carrying. It won't
Yeah.
work when you're back carrying. And also, if you are looking at baby wearing jackets, they're not all made the same. So just because it says it's a baby wearing jacket does not mean that it will do back carrying as well. So you'll get ones like sometimes Asda or
Seraphine do
Mountain
them. Yeah.
Warehouse or Seraphine. They all do baby wearing jackets, but it's only on the front. And they've got
Yeah.
this horrible big loop, big thing that goes over baby's head that's like a hat, but it's not a hat and it covers them.
Yeah.
Please do not cover. When you are using a baby wearing jacket or any kind of jacket, do not ever cover baby's face and head.
Airway, airway,
Obviously,
airway.
airway, airway, airway. We always focus on airway, and it's always doesn't matter what you're wearing. baby's head and face must be free at all times. So when you're
And that
layering up,
includes,
just remember that.
yeah, when you're layering up, scarves in the winter are really tricky. As cozy as
Yep.
they are not good for babies because they often hang down your front. We, as baby wearing consultants, you'll see loads of us wearing cowls in the winter. We love a cowl because it allows
Mm,
us to keep our necks cozy without having anything down our chest that our baby's face could get tangled up in. So,
exactly. A wee
we
buff, a wee
also,
snood, a cowl,
yeah,
all perfect. It's just a loop that goes around your neck
yeah,
and keeps that bit cozy. Also, with that's what I like about the Mama Lila is when you're front carrying, it will zip up round baby and baby's got a wee hat,
little
but then
bit.
it's got a strap that like goes across so that wee gap between your neck
Mhm.
and the top of baby's head, it covers that wee bit as well, which is really nice. Just gives you
Yeah,
that extra wee bit of protection. And I love that for like going out hill walking and it was a bit wild and it's like, oh, the extra wee bit of coziness.
yeah,
But yeah, so it will depend on what jacket you get that has it. And also you can hire them. So if you wanted to try them out first, you can
mhm.
hire them all and see what you like. And if you don't want to get one, that's absolutely fine. There's all the covers and the hacks and the jackets and zippers in is another thing that's a panel
Yep.
that zips into your own jacket. So it turns your jacket into baby wearing jacket on the front. Obviously, it doesn't work on the back. But I've seen people like there's lots of DIY groups. If you are
Yeah,
handy with a sewing machine and you fancy putting something together and making yourself something or adding a zip or a panel in the back, then go for it. Lots and lots of options.
yeah.
So we've talked about um, layers and clothing and covers and stuff. So let's go back to snowsuits. And why are
Yes.
snowsuits? Because it's cold. So I need to put my baby in a snowsuit. Is that correct?
No, it's too hot. It's too hot. So like I say, there is one exception to that. So in general, if you're thinking snowsuit, you think pram. Like you do
Mm-hmm.
not use a snowsuit with a baby carrier. It is too hot. You cannot monitor your child's temperature appropriately. Um, and that sounds great. Sounds great that it'll be cozy, but if they overheat, it's really hard to notice if your baby's overheating because even if you put your finger down the back of their neck, which is how we typically tell their temperature, remember, if it's cold, you are cold. Your hand is not going to be at an ambient temperature.
Mm-hmm.
So you won't necessarily notice how warm your baby is because you're maybe colder than you normally would be. Um, so monitoring temperature can be tricky. Using a snowsuit is going to deflect too much heat back in on them, and they are going to overheat really, really quickly. The one exception would be if you are using a framed hiking carrier. So the difference between a framed hiking carrier and what we would call an SSC, for anyone listening, an SSC is a soft structured carrier. That's like your ergos, your tulas, your baby Bjorns. They are soft carriers that go on your body, that you buckle your baby into. A hiking carrier, a framed carrier, has a big metal frame. It attaches to your shoulders with a waist belt to stop it swinging away from you. And the baby is very much sat in a seat on your back. It's a very
Mm-hmm.
different style of carrier, and it's intended for you to hang bags off of while you go hiking. It's
Mm-hmm.
not intended for you to go around Asda.
Yeah.
I mean, you can use it to go around Asda, but it's massive.
Yeah.
They
It's
are very
basically
much,
like think about it as like a pram on the back of your back.
yeah,
So
yeah,
baby is held away from you. They're not getting your body heat. They're also higher up, so they're more prone to the elements, the wind and stuff, and they can't as much snuggle in. And if they're sleeping, then they're kind of exposed to the elements. So,
yeah,
and also their position is different. So their position isn't as supported in as much a natural position as like your two-let ergo whatever
yeah,
other carrier, they're not in that natural squat position. They're kind of hanging, so the snowsuit isn't going to affect their position either, which it
yeah,
would in a normal carrier as well.
yeah, because they're so bulky. So you're with snowsuits, they're typically as well, they tend to be made out of a PUL to give you some sort of water resistance. And they're
Mm-hmm.
typically quite shiny and water resistant. Um, that's great if they're in a hiking carrier because you're getting that additional layer because often you'll need to use a cover like you would use in a pram for a hiking carrier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you are using one of them, again, they are intended to be breathable, but you are going to want to keep a close eye on your baby's breathing and temperature on their back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, with the snowsuits, the benefit to them in a hiking carrier as well is they will completely enclose your baby's legs. So
Yep.
their feet and so forth will be enclosed. When you're carrying in a soft structured carrier, you're going to want to think about things like leg warmers and booties and stuff. Preferably things that can Velcro or tie on, because otherwise they
Mhm.
fall off while you're walking about. And then you end up with loads and loads of odd socks.
Yes.
You
It's
get
like,
little
oh,
sock-ons
missed,
as
lost
well.
another sock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get little
And it
sock-ons, which are little plasticky things that keep the socks on your feet.
Yeah, and it will depend as well. Are you carrying a baby? Are you carrying a pre-walker or a toddler or an older child? So, like your pre-walker, your baby's not going to need shoes, but those wee like socks that have got like wee grippy rubbery
Yeah.
bits on the feet are good because they're usually thick wee booties, but then they've got like a high sock bit. So when you are if you're wearing leggings or joggies or thermals or whatever, when baby sits in that position, there's usually that gap at the ankle that's exposed. So
Yeah.
then the extra wee booties go up as well. But
Yeah.
so when we've talked about as well before about like onesies and stuff, then a great option is tights instead because then
Yeah.
that's an extra layer on the feet, and then tights, and then leggings or trousers, and then booties and socks. You can also get like knitted socks that are leg warmers as
Mm.
well, or pop to for a budget option, pop to the pound shop and get some fluffy socks and cut the toes off them and
Yep.
throw them off, which
Yep.
I used to love doing. Get all the funky, cool socks and just throw
I
them
would
on to
just
cut the toes off.
People give me loads of fluffy socks, right? Now, I don't wear socks in the house because my feet get too hot. I don't like it. So some special knowledge for everyone. Um, but occasionally I will wear a fluffy sock, but I've got like a box of them. So when I was walking about with the kids, I would just put my socks on them, and
Right
they
up
would
to
go
the
right up
thigh.
to their thighs, yeah, right up to their baby chunky thighs. And you know what? It worked great for us. Um,
Exactly.
but again,
That's
what's good
also
about
great for wee knees when they're crawling as well.
yeah,
Keeps those wee knees.
exactly. But what's great about it is you can put it on while they're on you. So
Hmm.
if you're wandering about and you put your hand to your baby's foot and you think, actually, it's a bit chilly, whip a pair of socks out the bag, horse them on the feet. Um, and again, if you're wandering about and you think, actually, I think they're a bit cozy, taking hats and socks off are an easy way to let some air out without having to take carrier off and unparcel the whole baby.
Hmm.
Um, So yeah, hats and socks. Other types of things you can use. The pixie hats are quite. My kids won't keep a hat on, so the
I love a
pixie
balaclava, a wee
a
baby
balaclava
balaclava.
type,
They're
yeah,
perfect.
because they'll keep your baby's face nice and clear, keep the airway clear and open, but they will cover the neck and they kind of trap the hat on the head,
Hmm.
which is
Yeah,
what
no,
we need.
especially if you're front carrying it's okay, but see when you start back carrying in the winter and then you're like, how do I get the hat on? If it's come off, you're like walking along the street, excuse me, can you put my baby's
Yes,
hat on? How many times
yes,
have we done that? But yeah, the game changer for that is a wee pixie hat or one that ties under the chin or a balaclava, a wool balaclava as well. I used to love that.
love them.
And it was just perfect because then it keeps them nice cozy, protects the neck, and yeah, and then they're not going to fall off either, which is
Mhm.
ideal.
Ideal. Yes. So after everything we've been saying, I would say the top tips for carrying in the cold are you're going to layer up. You're
Hmm.
not going to use a snowsuit unless they're in a framed hiking carrier or a pram. Your layers are going to include things like tights and hats and leg warmers. You count as a layer, your carrier counts as a layer, and you're going to just monitor your baby. You're going to think about what you're up to.
Hmm.
Um, Anything else? Any
Think about the
top?
exposed areas as well. So a lot of people will get too concerned on the part of baby that's covered by the sling or carrier jacket, but think about their heads, making sure baby's got a hat on, a wee woolly hat, and then socks as well, or booties or something, because their feet are going to get Remember, wee ones, their circulation isn't that great in their hands and feet. So focusing on the extremities if you're not wearing a cover or jacket and their feet are out of the sling, making sure you layer up the feet a wee bit more as well because they're going to get cold feet. One question that I usually get asked is, does baby need gloves? So, and I usually say
Good
no.
luck.
Well, yeah, good luck if you try and get them on, but also no, if you've got a wee one and their hands are inside the sling the whole time, you do not going to need gloves because if their hands are in here up at their face or in at the chest, then they're warm and they're staying inside. Unless your wee one is getting a wee bit older and they've got their hands out, then you don't need gloves. And if you do have gloves, use mittens or you know the ones like old
The
fashioned with the
string,
string
that's what my
across. So
daughter
then if they
has.
come off,
Yep.
they can like flap, 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 hanging around. Yeah, they're perfect as well. So yeah, if their hands are in all the time, no gloves. If their hands are out, then put gloves on. That's just kind of easy, one or the other. There's no kind of in between. Um, if you're not sure at any point and you're worried about how to layer up or if you're using the right amount of layers or not enough, then please reach out and ask us. Pop it in our socials, pop us a question, pop us a message. We will happily chat to you or look at options and do what you're doing, see what you're doing as well, and see if we can make it a wee bit easier for you. Um, yeah, and there's also lots of things that you can do. You don't have to go out and buy anything specific. There's going to be things in the house like socks you can put on, or even a blanket if you're front carrying. If it's dry, a blanket over baby rather than an extra layer or a cover. You don't have to go out and buy all the expensive gear for a couple of months when it's going to be cold. There's lots and lots of budget options as well.
Yeah. And again, the only thing that we will continue to shout from the rooftops is protect the airway. So we are never ever covering the face. And it can be really tempting to, with the
Hmm.
hoods and things that are on the market, to cover the baby up. A lot of carriers will have a little foldy up bit for the back of the neck. And I
Hmm.
see them up more during the winter. I see the
Hmm.
hoods used more during the winter. The hoods probably good to mention this actually is that when you take a baby carrier and it's got an inbuilt hood and you take it out, they'll snap into both of the straps.
Yep.
And we often see people covering the entire baby head with both the straps. If you are doing that, it can be really beneficial to only use one strap. You can always put it diagonally over to give your baby some
Hmm.
head support if they need it. Most babies don't need that head support. The positioning should make sure their head lies on your chest naturally. Um, but you want to make sure that you're never restricting that airflow. So again, we're going to avoid putting scarves or big jumpers that are going to. So like I'm wearing a hoodie. I wouldn't wear a hoodie if I was front carrying a baby
Hmm.
because there's usually too much in the neck for me and there's too much fabric on my chest. Um, so you're going to think about the clothes that you're wearing. Are they going to impact the airway? If you're using a hood, are you going to make sure that there's always airflow on your baby's face? We just always want to protect that airway, no matter how we are layering or dressing our baby. So again, we're going to avoid snowsuits, we're going to protect the airway, we're going to lay it up, and we're going to think about what it is we're doing. So are we dog walking or just mooching around the shop? You know,
Hmm.
it's not rocket science, but it is so confusing as a new parent
Yeah.
as to
Especially if
how.
you're a first time parent and you've
Oh God,
got a
yeah,
winter baby and your
yeah,
baby's born when it's cold, you're like, oh my goodness.
yeah,
It can be so overwhelming. But that's what we're for. If you're not
yeah.
sure, reach out, ask us. We're always happy to chat and make sure that you're carrying safely. We would
Mhm.
much rather you ask us than struggle and be like, oh, what do I do? Or want to give up or not carry in the winter when you want to just because you're not sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, ask us anything. And I think we've kind of covered everything. Let's have a wee look, see if we've got some questions. Um, we will put up the graphics on our socials as well, so you can have a wee look. So to know what to do. And just helpful. Let's see. Um, I think we've probably covered these questions already, but we'll go through them as well. What if it's raining or snowing? So we've talked about this. Think about it.
Covers.
Do you need to go out first? Yeah, if you need to go out, think about it. If it's snowing, is it icy or is it just slushy? Then think about your footwear as well, and then layer up. So your covers, your coats, your waterproof covers, also a brolly. If you don't have,
Yeah.
if you've got like a cover that's maybe not waterproof, brolly on top. There we go. You've got your hands free. You've just got one hand for a brolly and then you're all good. So that's a nice
Um,
option as well.
a question I got asked a lot was, do I put my jacket on first and then my baby, or the other way round?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would usually say put the baby on and then the jacket and sort of zip it around the baby.
Yep.
Again, it depends. If I was wearing a really bulky jacket, I would always want to put that on last. If
Hmm.
I was wearing just like a light rain jacket, I might swap it around. But again, it's not something I would usually say put the jacket on the last thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Because then it's easier to take off as well. If you do get too hot, it's a quick layer to take off easily.
yeah,
And make sure you're not wearing too many like thick layers as well, because then
yeah.
you're going to have to take baby off before you take a layer off. So it's a lot easier.
Plus anything that's puffy. And so if you do put a jacket on your baby and then put them in the carrier, so just like a lot of these puffy jackets that have got sort of downy filling in them, they can
Hmm.
affect your ability to tighten your carrier. So if you're wearing a downy jacket and you put the carrier over the top, it can affect how tight your straps are. So
Hmm.
you can think you've got your straps nice and tight, but actually it's you see it a lot with car seats. People tell you not to use downy jackets because they affect how tight
Hmm.
you can get the straps. Same deal with baby wearing. We want the carriers snug so your baby doesn't slump. Um, so if you're wearing a jacket, I would generally put it on last. A lot of people find that tricky when back carrying
Hmm.
using a baby wearing jacket, there are certain hacks you can do to get the baby on with the jacket on and things. And if you're struggling with that, do let us know.
Yeah.
Um, but again, practice is what's going to make it easier for you. But yeah, I would always put the jacket on last. You can put it on before that if you want, but like Lorna
Just
says, it's an
depends on
easy
your
way to
jacket.
get off. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Depends on the jacket and depends on your carrier and as well. So yeah, just have we play around at home before you go out and see what's going to work best as well.
If you're wrapping
Um,
over a shiny jacket, no, I wouldn't.
no, no,
It's
thank you. Tried that too many times, and
yeah.
that's like, oh, let's just take it off and start again. This is hellish.
You need
It's
some
not
friction,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, that's not a good idea. Yeah, I'd rather be cold and have them in the wrap
Yes.
than put a jacket on. I'm like, no, just not doing that. Can I back carry in winter? Yes, you can. It's probably going to be easier if your child is old enough to back carry and you're already back carrying, then yes. And you might find it easier because then you can see a bit better because baby's not in the way, so you can see your feet and you can see where you're walking if it is slippy. So yes. And more than likely, a question that we always hear in the winter is, what if I fall? If you're back carrying, it's probably going to be a bit safer because if you do fall, you're more likely to fall forward. And just kind of get into that. If you fall, you'll fall forward most of the time. And most people will, it's like an automatic reaction, isn't it? If you fall or slip, you will rotate your body or throw yourself in a certain way that you're going to be able to be
I
safe.
watched my husband walk up the stairs with my brand new son, my firstborn, the light of my life, and he walked up the stairs, slipped and fell, and the child was about 4 days old. I was, oh,
Oh.
oh. But this is the thing, he was carrying in arms. You know, we
Hmm.
we fall with our children all the time.
Hmm.
Sometimes they're in arms, sometimes they're in carriers. What I would say is I watched that man mid-air flip 180 degrees so he landed on his back on the stairs. Like, it was impressive. I've never seen such a feat of athleticism off him before or since. But it was his instinct was to protect the baby and he flipped.
Hmm.
Um, a friend of mine, her mum slipped in the back porch holding her granddaughter in arms. Um, and she slipped, and as she fell, she actually threw the baby away onto the grass, because she was on concrete slabs. Um, so her instinct was to protect the child, get them somewhere safer than concrete.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, you protect your kid.
Yeah, it's automatic. Like if you overthink it, you don't know what your body's going to do until you're in that moment. And yeah, I've fallen before and I was walking and my foot slipped on a curb and I was back carrying and my instinct was just to throw myself forward. Like I felt like I slipped backwards and I managed to throw myself forward because it was just instinct. And she was sound asleep and didn't even notice and didn't even wake up.
Yeah.
And I was like, ah, my knee. I was like, ah, yeah, it's sore, but I'm fine. Are you all right? You're still asleep. I was like, that's fine.
Honestly, the funny
uh,
thing
I
is,
know. It's magic. It's like, oh, we can flip.
yeah.
Right, last question. And this will depend very much. How do I nurse in the carrier in with all these layers?
Right. So, right. So,
Leave
as
it
we've
to
talked
you.
about in the past, Yes, to me, with all my breastfeeding. As I've talked about in the past, feeding in a carrier is a different skill to carrying. It doesn't mean that you need to learn to carry first or that you need to learn to breastfeed first. You can learn to do it all on its own. Um, it is something, though, that when you're carrying with lots and lots of layers, you are going to want to be mindful that as you're loosening the carrier, you're moving layers around with you as well. So when you're getting dressed in the morning, you're going to want to think about easy access to the boobs. If you're wearing a jumper, for example, you can get jumpers. There's loads of them, there's like Juno Jacks and
Yes, aye, that flip up,
that
Milky
they've got like
Moon.
yeah, they've got sort of panels built in that you can flip up to release the ladies. Some have little zips. Personally, I just didn't feed in the carrier in the winter, or
Mm,
I would do a big rummage down to pull my jumper up, and or I would wear something that was low necked enough that I could pull
hmm
out up and over the top. So those are all options. But when you're loosening your carrier, you are loosening it over multiple layers of clothing. So as you're loosening, you're going to remember that you've now got lots of fabric that's loose, the carrier
hmm
is loose. As you pull your jumper up, if you're going to do that or you're pulling it down, you're going to remember there is now loads of loose fabric around your baby's face. You're going to have to be really, really mindful of what you're doing. It's not something I would say is a beginner move. It's not something that
Yeah.
you can do and just not pay attention to. You're always going to keep at least one hand on your baby while you're feeding. Typically, I would say feeding with that many layers, you're going to need two hands anyway, because you're going to need one hand on the baby and the other to keep the fabric out
Yep.
of the way. Um, also, you're going to, if it's that cold that you've got so many layers on, you're going to want to think your entire breast is going to be out. It
Do you
is
want cold nips?
you're going to get a chilly nip. Well,
Yeah.
actually, the nip will be fine. That'll be in your baby. It's the rest of
Yeah,
it.
that's true.
So if you're going to be cold, I mean, think about, do I actually want to feed outside? Could I maybe go inside, sit down, maybe take a couple of layers off?
hmm
Um, or if you're going to take a couple of layers off, you can always put the carrier back on, continue to feed in the carrier, but much like you would do in the warmer weather where you've only got a t-shirt on or whatever.
It's
Um,
also a good excuse to pop by a cafe and go in for a wee coffee and
yeah,
warm up. Take
yeah,
baby out and
exactly.
just feed them out the carrier. Obviously, being able to feed in a carrier is a great skill when you learn and when you manage it, but sometimes it's going to be a lot easier and just warmer if you stop and go inside if you're able to. But if you do want to learn how to feed in the carrier, learn and be confident doing it at home first
Yeah,
rather than when you're all layered up would be easier. It
yeah,
is possible, but sometimes it's not worth the faff. You have to think about it that way as well. Like if you're stuck outside and you can't sit down, there's nowhere to stop, and you need to feed, then you need to feed, and you'll make it work. As long as you're being safe, making sure baby's airways are free and clear, and you're monitoring baby at all times. But yeah, it's one of those things as well. Like think about, do you need to do this? Is there another way I can go around it as well? So it will depend. Our answer for everything.
And I would say, sorry, I've thought of one more thing, one more awesome thing about winter is
Yep.
if, like me, you like a short wrap, um, something like a size four or shorter, and you have a toddler who is determined that they can walk, but you know fine well that their tiny little legs are going to get tired, you can do the full Lenny Kravitz and have this massive wrap scarf situation going around your
Many
neck.
times, many times.
Super duper cozy. You feel fabulous. And we say Lenny Kravitz because there's a picture of him on the internet and he
Yeah, with
has
the,
this
the biggest scarf ever. It's about like a
massive
20-meter scarf.
exactly. But it always makes me feel fabulous when I wear my wraps like that. And then you have a wrap where you can pop them into a hip carry. Again, not great for the wet weather, but especially for like a cold, dry day.
Yeah.
Amazing. You can use a ring sling in the same way you can wear it around your neck as a scarf. So
hmm
even if your baby wearing journey is coming to an end, don't get rid of your wraps or ring slings. Think about, could this be my new winter scarf?
Exactly. I think we need to make a feature of that because yeah, it is so many times. I think actually my picture on the socials is me in the winter in the snow and I've got a child walking behind me and I've got this big mega scarf.
Yeah.
So yeah, have a look at that. It just is perfect. Um so yeah, so if you have any questions, please ask us. If you want to hear anything more about this topic, then we will happily do another chat. And yeah, I think that's all. So thank you again to Carry Fit for sponsoring this episode. And be sure to check out our socials because there is something exciting coming up, isn't there? We have got
Yeah, yeah,
another
yeah.
cheeky wee giveaway for you all.
We love a
Well, not
giveaway.
all of you. Well, one person, but like you can all get involved.
Yes, one of you will be very lucky. The rest will just
We
have
wish.
watched our socials, which is a
Yeah,
treat.
exactly. Have a listen, ask us anything. And yeah, so we will speak to you soon on the next episode. So see you later.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.